My dear, precious soul, there is a moment, a sacred moment when your heart begins to whisper, maybe it's too late, maybe this is where it ends. Oh, how I have felt that whisper, but I stand here today, not because I never heard it, but because I chose not to believe it. Let me tell you something that will anchor your spirit. Our God is not finished with you yet, not by a long stretch. You may have cried in the midnight hour, wondering if your prayers disappeared into silence, but I assure you they didn't. He heard you. Every trembling word, every broken breath, every sigh you dared not speak aloud. You may have walked through fire, burned, bent, nearly broken, but you are still here, and that means something. That means purpose still lives in you. That means heaven is still writing your story. You may say, but I failed. Oh, sweet soul, who hasn't? Grace does not look for the perfect. It looks for the willing. It seeks out those who still dare to believe when there's no reason to believe. Those who fall but get up one more time than they fall. That's who heaven moves through. Don't you dare give up now. You didn't come this far to stop. No, not there is a future for you. Beautiful, radiant, dripping in purpose. You can't see it all yet, but just because you can't see the sun through the clouds doesn't mean it's not shining. You must walk by faith and not by sight. I've stood in rooms filled with broken hearts, shattered dreams, hopeless eyes, and I've watched the power of unseen hands lift the weight of sorrow in a single moment. I've watched healing flow like a river into the drenched deserts, and I know it wasn't the end for them. And it is not the end for you. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. There is something glorious being shaped in the silence. Don't curse the process. Don't despise the delay. There is oil being pressed in your wilderness, and that oil will anoint your next chapter. God is not finished with you yet. Those words may sound simple, but they carry the weight of heaven behind them. They are not a cliche, not a phrase tossed around to make you feel better for a moment. No. This is a divine truth, a truth deeper than your feelings, stronger than your circumstances, and louder than the silence you've been sitting in. It is the reminder that when you feel most forgotten, most discarded, most broken and lost, there is still something unfolding in your life that your eyes have not yet seen. You may be weary. You may be tired of trying. The road behind you is littered with attempts and tears and days where you thought you had failed so badly that surely heaven had moved on. But listen closely. The author of your life does not throw away his pen when the page gets messy. He does not crumple the paper and walk away. He keeps writing. He keeps shaping. He keeps working in ways you can't always perceive. So often people judge the story by the chapter they're in. They say, this must be all there is. Nothing more can come from this. But you are not at the end of your story. What you're experiencing now may be hard, may feel like defeat, but it is not your conclusion. It is a comma, not a period. A transition, not a termination. And the hand of God is not idle in this moment. It's hidden, yes, but never absent. Some of the most beautiful works of God are born in silence, in seasons where nothing makes sense, in places where it seems like everything is falling apart, not coming together. But in those very places, the Spirit is moving, aligning things in the unseen, preparing hearts, positioning people, clearing paths. Just because you can't feel it doesn't mean He's not doing it. Just because it looks like nothing is changing doesn't mean He's finished. You were created with purpose. That purpose was not erased by your past, not weakened by your delays, and not cancelled by your mistakes. If God were finished with you, you wouldn't still be breathing. The very fact that you are alive right now is living evidence that something remains, something more, something significant. The breath in your lungs is the signature of heaven, whispering over and over again, I'm not done. You may not feel worthy. You may not even want to keep going, but the plans over your life are not based on how you feel. They are based on His sovereignty. His design is not dictated by your strength, but by His faithfulness. If He started something in you, and He did, then He will bring it to completion. You don't have to understand how. You just have to believe that it's true. There is a process unfolding. It doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like failure. But through it all, something is being formed in you that couldn't be shaped any other way. Trust that. Even when you don't trust yourself, trust the one who formed you in the secret place, who knew your name before anyone else did. Don't be fooled by how things appear right now. This moment is not the whole picture. There is more you haven't seen. There is a chapter that hasn't been read. There is a purpose still burning, even if only as a faint ember beneath the ashes. You may feel forgotten, but heaven has not moved on from you. Heaven remember vests. Heaven stays, and heaven is not finished with you. Your failure is not your final. It may feel like it is. It may look like it is. You may be standing in the aftermath of a decision, a mistake, or a collapse so painful that you wonder if anything good can come from it. You may have fallen so hard that you question whether you'll ever rise again. But let me tell you what heaven knows, the place where you fell is not where your story ends. Your failure is not the closing scene. It's a turning point. So many people confuse a moment of collapse with the end of a calling. But the truth is, failure is not the end, it's often the doorway to discovery. What feels like ruin may, in fact, be the soil where something greater is planted. God doesn't see as man sees. Where others see brokenness, he sees potential. Where others see shame, he sees the chance for grace shine brightest. He doesn't discard the broken pieces. He gathers them. You may think that your weakness disqualifies you, but in the kingdom of heaven, weakness is not a disqualifier. It's the very place where divine strength is made perfect. You don't have to be flawless to be used. You don't have to be spotless to be chosen. All throughout history, it's never been about perfect people. It's always been about surrendered people. People who failed, but got back up. People who stumbled, but still believed. People who doubted, but didn't quit. Failure has a way of silencing the soul. It whispers lies in your ear. You're done. You've missed it. There's no way back. But those whispers are not the voice of truth. They are the echoes of fear and shame, trying to keep you from seeing what's still possible. But what if the failure was never meant to define you, but refine you? What if the breaking was meant to open up a deeper place inside of you, one that pride or success could never reach? Sometimes, the fall humbles you in a way that prepares you for what's next. Sometimes it strips away the illusion of self-reliance so that grace can take its rightful place. Sometimes it shows you who you really are, not so you'll be condemned, but so you'll know what needs healing. There is a kind of clarity that only comes when everything falls apart. And in that clarity, you begin to see that the end of your strength is the beginning of something sacred. Do not hang your head in shame. Do not let regret anchor your soul to the past. What's behind you is not greater than what lies ahead. The mercy of God is not intimidated by your worst moments. It does not withdraw from the mess. It moves toward it. He is not pacing heaven, wondering what to do with you now. He already knew this part of your journey. He already planned for it. And he already made provision for you to rise again. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. What you did is not who you are. You may carry the memory, but you do not carry the identity of failure. That moment may mark a chapter, but it does not write the ending. You can rebuild, you can be restored. Grace does not erase the past, but it transforms its power over you. What once looked like a grave can become the ground for resurrection. Failure is not a wall, it's a mirror. It shows you what must change, yes, but it also shows you what can change. And in that space between what was and what will be, there is a whisper of invitation. An invitation not to give up, not to walk away, but to believe even now that it's not over. Grace chooses the willing, not the perfect. This is a truth that often surprises us because our natural tendency is to believe that we must clean ourselves up, fix every flaw, and become flawless before we can be embraced by grace. We think we must reach a certain standard, erase all mistakes, and prove our worthiness. But grace works differently. It does not wait for perfection. It moves toward willingness. It reaches out to the broken, the hurting, the uncertain, and the flawed, and it invites them into something far greater than their shortcomings. The perfect do not need grace. The perfect do not seek it. Grace is not a reward for good behavior or an accolade for moral success. It is a gift freely given to those who are humble enough to admit they need it. It is the hand extended to the one who says, "I can't do this on my own." It is the strength offered to the one who has tried everything else and found that nothing in their own effort can save or change them fully. Many of us have held back because we were afraid that our imperfections would make us unworthy of love, of healing, of purpose. We waited to come forward until we felt good enough. But that day never came. Instead, we are reminded that grace delights in the willing heart, not the spotless record. It is a grace that says, "Come as you are. Bring your brokenness, your questions, your doubts, your failures, and I will meet you there." Willingness is the open door. It is the soft place inside where resistance melts and surrender begins. It is saying yes to what God is doing even when you don't understand the process. It is trusting when you can't see the outcome. This willingness is the soil in which grace grows and flourishes. It doesn't demand that you have it all together before you can be used. It only requires that you are open, ready to receive, and humble enough to be transformed. The story of grace throughout the ages is the story of people who were far from perfect. People who stumbled, who doubted, who failed. And yet they became vessels of grace because they were willing. They did not arrive as heroes. They became heroes through grace working in their willing hearts. This is why grace is often described as amazing, because it meets us exactly where we are and lifts us to where we could never reach on our own. It is important to remember that grace does not sober your faults or pretend the brokenness isn't there. Instead, it sees the brokenness and chooses to work through it. It embraces the messiness of your journey and uses it to tell a story of redemption. Grace is patient, it is kind. It does not demand quick fixes or instant transformation. It moves gently, steadily, and persistently toward the willing heart. You do not have to fix yourself before you come. You do not have to clear all your doubts or erase every scar to be embraced by grace. In fact, those very struggles are part of the pathway to becoming more deeply connected to the grace that restores and renews. Willingness invites grace into the hidden places, the places you might be ashamed to show, and their grace begins to heal, to restore, and to build anew. When you embrace your willingness, you open the door for grace to do what only grace can do. It changes your heart. It reshapes your mind. It redefines your future. Grace does not look for perfection. It looks for faith. Not a faith that never falters, but a faith that persists. Not a faith that never doubts, but a faith that chooses to keep moving forward. So be willing, be open. Let go of the idea that you must be perfect first. The invitation is always the same: come as you are, with all your faults and fears, and receive the grace that meets you there and carries you forward. Pain is preparation, not punishment. This is a truth that is hard to accept when you are in the midst of suffering, but with your heart, when every moment feels heavy and the weight of your struggles presses down on your spirit. It's natural to wonder why pain exists at all, and to question if you are being punished for something you did or didn't do. But pain is not a sign that you have been abandoned or rejected. It is often the place where God's greatest work is done, a refining fire designed not to destroy, but to prepare and purify. When you go through pain, you are not being condemned, you are being shaped. Like a potter working with clay, the pain molds and forms you into something stronger, more resilient and more beautiful than before. The discomfort is real and undeniable, but it serves a purpose beyond what your eyes can see. It is breaking down old ways of thinking, tearing down walls of pride, and softening your heart so that you can receive more of God has for you. Many people mistake pain as punishment because it forces them to confront their limitations and their failures. It exposes places of weakness and vulnerability that we often try to hide. But those very places are where growth begins. The pain calls you out of complacency. It challenges you to lean into faith rather than fear. It pushes you beyond what you thought you could endure. And in that stretching, you discover new depths of strength you didn't know you had. Pain is a teacher, though a harsh one. It strips away illusions and reveals what is truly important. It awakens empathy and compassion within you, allowing you to connect more deeply with others who suffer. It breaks down barriers and walls that separate you from God and from the people around you. When you let pain do its work, it becomes a pathway to greater understanding and intimacy with the divine. It's important to remember that pain is not random or meaningless. There is a divine purpose behind it, even when it feels unjust or overwhelming. Like gold being refined in fire, your character is being purified. The things that once distracted you or held you back are being burned away. The process may be slow, and the flames may be hot, but the result is a purer, stronger version of you emerging from the trial. Sometimes pain prepares you for a greater calling or a new season in your life. It opens doors to opportunities you wouldn't have had if things had gone smoothly. It cultivates patience, perseverance, and faith, qualities that become the foundation for your next chapter. When you look back, you may see that the pain you endured was actually a bridge to a place of healing, victory, and fulfillment. Pain also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not in control and that you need help beyond yourself. It points you to the source of all comfort and strength, inviting you to rely on God's grace rather than your own understanding. This humility becomes a wellspring of hope as you learn to trust that the pain is temporary and that a greater joy is coming. When you experience pain as preparation, it changes how you respond to hardship. Instead of bitterness or despair, you can respond with faith and hope. Instead of questioning why, you begin to ask, what is God doing in this? This perspective allows you to endure with grace and courage, knowing that your suffering is not wasted. It is part of a larger story, one that leads to healing, restoration, and new life. Pain does not define you, but how you respond to it does. When you see pain as preparation, you open yourself to transformation. You allow God to use your struggles as tools to shape you into the person you were created to be. The journey through pain is never easy, but is never pointless. It is a sacred process of becoming, of stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. Keep walking by faith, not by sight. This phrase holds a powerful message for anyone who feels overwhelmed by the uncertainty of their journey. It calls us to trust in something greater than what our eyes can see, to move forward even when the path is unclear, and to believe that unseen forces are at work on our behalf. Walking by faith means choosing hope over fear, trust over doubt, and perseverance over giving up, especially when circumstances seem impossible. The human heart longs for security and clarity. We want to see the entire road ahead, to know exactly where every step will lead before we take it. But life rarely offers that kind of certainty. Often the road twists and turns unexpectedly. Challenges arise that we didn't anticipate. Doors close where we thought they would open. In those moments, walking by sight feels like a natural choice because it seems safer to wait until things look clear. But waiting for perfect clarity often leads to stagnation, missed opportunities, and a life half-lived. Faith invites us to move forward without having all the answers. It's a deliberate choice to trust that the unseen is real, that God's promises are true, and that He is guiding us even when we cannot see the way. Walking by faith doesn't mean ignoring reality or being reckless. It means acknowledging the difficulty, but choosing to believe that there is a purpose beyond what we currently understand. It means stepping into the unknown with confidence that we are not alone. Throughout history, those who have achieved great things did so by faith. They faced obstacles that should have stopped them, but their trust in God and in His plan kept them moving. Faith gave them courage to rise each time they fell, to keep reaching for a promise that was not yet fulfilled. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They walked forward, trusting that the path would become clear as they went. Faith also changes how we perceive setbacks and delays. Instead of seeing them as signs to stop, faith interprets them as part of the process. Sometimes the wait is necessary for preparation. Sometimes detours lead to better opportunities. When you walk by faith, you learn to see your circumstances through a different lens, a lens of hope and trust rather than disappointment and fear. One of the most difficult parts of walking by faith is dealing with doubt. Doubt is a natural response when we can't see what's ahead or when things don't make sense. But faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the choice to keep moving despite doubt. It's saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you. This humility opens the door for God's guidance and peace to enter your heart. Faith grows stronger the more you choose to step forward, even when your vision is limited. Walking by faith also means being patient with the timing of God. We want results immediately. We want to see progress now. But faith teaches us to trust the timing of the divine, which is often different from our own. What looks like delay may be divine delay, a time to build character, strengthen resolve, or align circumstances perfectly. When you walk by faith, you are not discouraged by waiting. You are strengthened by trusting that the wait is purposeful. Another important aspect of walking by faith is community. Faith is often strengthened when shared with others who believe and encourage you. Surrounding yourself with people who walk by faith helps you stay focused and motivated. Their stories, prayers, and support remind you that you are not alone in your journey. Together, faith becomes a powerful force that moves mountains and opens doors. Ultimately, walking by faith means living with an eternal perspective. It means recognizing that life is more than what we see today. It means knowing that God is working all things together for good, even when it feels confusing or hard. When you walk by faith, you align yourself with a purpose greater than your immediate circumstances. You step into the adventure of trusting a God who never fails, a God who sees the beginning and the end, and a God who holds your future securely in His hands. The wilderness is producing your anointing. This statement may seem paradoxical at first. The wilderness, often seen as a place of desolation, loneliness, and struggle, is in fact the very place where something sacred is being formed within you. It is in the midst of hardship, isolation, and uncertainty that your anointing, the unique calling and empowerment given to you, is being cultivated. What feels like a barren season is actually fertile ground for growth, preparation, and transformation. When you find yourself in the wilderness, it's easy to feel abandoned or forgotten. You may wonder why you are walking through a season of hardship when you expected blessing. You may question if your purpose is slipping away. But the wilderness is not a sign of failure or rejection. It is a necessary place for refining and strengthening, a place where distractions are removed and your focus sharpens. It is a classroom where you learn dependence on God and develop the resilience needed for the calling ahead. The wilderness strips away comfort and certainty, forcing you to confront your limitations and weaknesses. This can be uncomfortable and painful, but it is also a time when your faith deepens. Without the noise and business of life's usual distractions, your heart becomes more sensitive to God's voice. In the wilderness, you learn to rely less on what you can control and more on the Spirit within you. This reliance is part of the anointing, power that flows from surrender and dependence on God. Many of the greatest leaders and prophets in history spent time in the wilderness before stepping into their destiny. These were not wasted years. They were times of preparation, purification, and revelation. The wilderness challenges you to grow in patience, endurance, and trust. It teaches you to wait on God's timing and to seek His guidance above your own understanding. In this way, the wilderness becomes a sacred training ground where your character and calling are strengthened. Your anointing is not just about power or gifts. It is about purpose and identity. The wilderness helps you discover who you truly are beyond success or failure. It reveals the depths of your heart and clarifies your calling. It's where you are shaped into a vessel fit for the work God has prepared for you. This shaping is not always easy, but it is necessary. Without the wilderness, your anointing might be shallow or incomplete. During this season, you may feel weak, discouraged, or alone. Those feelings are real, but they do not mean you are forgotten or forsaken. God's presence is often most powerful in the wilderness, even when it feels absent. It is in these moments that your faith is tested and strengthened. The endurance you build now will become the foundation for your future impact. Your time in the wilderness is building spiritual muscle that will carry you through challenges ahead. The wilderness also cultivates humility. It reminds you that you are not self-sufficient and that you need God every step of the way. This humility opens the door for God's power to work through you in ways you could never achieve on your own. Anointing flows most freely when pride is set aside and surrender takes its place. The wilderness humbles you so that you can be raised up in true strength. It is important to see the wilderness not as a punishment, but as a sacred part of your journey. It is a place where God is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, breaking strongholds, and releasing destiny. The wilderness shapes your faith, sharpens your vision, and prepares you to carry the anointing with wisdom and grace. When you embrace the wilderness as a place of growth rather than a place of despair, your perspective shifts. You begin to see challenges as opportunities. You start to recognize that what feels like isolation is actually preparation for a powerful breakthrough. The wilderness becomes a holy ground when your anointing is not only produced but perfected. Your breath is proof of your purpose. Every inhale and exhale is a divine reminder that you are still here, still alive, and still on a journey that has meaning beyond what you can fully grasp. When life feels overwhelming or your path uncertain, it's easy to forget how powerful this simple truth is. Yet, the very fact that you are breathing right now is evidence that your story is not finished, that your purpose is still unfolding, and that you have been given the gift of time to walk it out. Breath is life itself. It is the invisible thread that connects your spirit to the Creator. It is not just a physical function but a sacred sign that God has not given up on you. When you face moments of doubt, discouragement, or exhaustion, your breath is the gentle whisper that says, "Keep going." It is a constant pulse that beats against the silence of despair, reminding you that as long as you breathe, there is hope. Sometimes, when burdens feel heavy and obstacles seem insurmountable, it's hard to see any reason to continue. The weight of yesterday's failures, today's pain, or tomorrow's uncertainties can make you want to give up. But your breath is an unspoken promise, a sign that something greater is at work within you and through you. It is proof that you have not been abandoned, that your purpose remains intact. Even if you can't see it clearly, each breath you take is a moment of grace. It's a chance to reset, to find strength, and to invite peace into your soul. When you become aware of your breath, you are reminded that life is a gift, not a guarantee. You are reminded that no matter how dark the night feels, a new day is coming. Your breath is a symbol of resilience and perseverance, a rhythm that carries you through every trial and triumph. Your purpose is connected to your breath because it is tied to your existence. You were created with intention, designed for a reason that transcends the moments of struggle or uncertainty. The breath within you is a sacred fire, a spark of the divine, signaling that your life matters and that you are called to something meaningful. It fuels your spirit, energizes your dreams, and propels you forward when your heart feels weary. Breath also reminds you to be present. In the midst of chaos and confusion, focusing on your breath brings you back to the here and now. It anchors you in the moment, giving you clarity and calm. This presence allows you to hear the still, small voice of God that often speaks quietly amid the noise. It helps you recognize opportunities, embrace blessings, and face challenges with courage. When you struggle to find your purpose, return to your breath. Let it remind you that you are alive and that life itself is an invitation to grow, to learn, and to impact the world around you. Every breath is a chance to choose hope over despair, faith over fear, and courage over retreat. It is a daily reminder that your journey is ongoing and that you have the strength to keep moving forward. Your breath is also a connection to those around you. It links you to the community of people who share this human experience. In every breath, there is an opportunity to extend love, kindness, and grace, to be a source of light in someone else's darkness. Your purpose is not only personal, it is relational. The breath that sustains you can also be the breath that encourages another, that breathes life into dreams and heals wounds. In moments when you feel small or insignificant, remember your breath. Remember that each inhale and exhale carries the power of life and purpose. You are part of a greater story, one that continues to unfold with every breath you take. You have not been forgotten. You have not been forsaken. Your breath is a testimony that God is still working in you and through you, and that your purpose is alive and well. Hope is a seed planted deep within your soul, waiting patiently for the right season to bloom. It's a quiet force that persists even when circumstances try to silence it. When the world feels dark and heavy, and your heart is weighed down by disappointment or fear, hope is the small, unwavering light that refuses to go out. It is the inner assurance that no matter how long the night lasts, the dawn is coming and with it new beginnings. Hope doesn't always shout, sometimes it whispers in the stillness of your heart. It's not dependent on immediate answers or visible progress. In fact, hope often grows strongest in the absence of what we want to see. It is the confidence that the unseen hand of God is working behind the scenes, weaving together strands of your life into a beautiful tapestry that you cannot yet fully understand. Even when you cannot trace the path ahead, hope tells you to keep walking because there is something greater waiting for you. Many times, hope is tested. Life's challenges may try to bury it beneath grief, pain, or failure. It can be easy to mistake hope for naivety or wishful thinking, but true hope is far deeper and more resilient. It is anchored not in circumstance but in the character of God, who is faithful and true. Hope looks beyond the temporary storms and fixes its gaze on the eternal promises that never fade. When hope is alive in your heart, it changes how you face every trial. It doesn't deny the reality of hardship, but it refuses to be defeated by it. Hope gives you strength to endure seasons that seem endless and courage to rise each time you fall. It is the fuel that keeps you moving forward when the road is rough and the destination feels distant. Because hope believes in what cannot yet be seen, it is a powerful force that moves mountains within your spirit. Hope also opens your eyes to possibilities. It allows you to imagine a future beyond your current pain or limitations. It breathes life into dreams that seem forgotten or out of reach. When you hold on to hope, you are saying yes to a better tomorrow, even if you can't yet touch it. This yes invites God's power into your situation, unlocking doors and creating pathways where none seemed possible. Hope is contagious. When you carry hope in your heart, you inspire those around you to do the same. Your hope becomes a beacon that lights the way for others lost in darkness or despair. It spreads like a gentle fire, warming cold hearts and awakening faith. In communities, hope builds resilience, fosters unity, and encourages perseverance. It reminds us that we are not alone, that together we can endure, overcome, and thrive. It is important to nurture hope like a seed. It requires tending through prayer, reflection, and connection with God's promises. Feeding your hope with truth and faith strengthens it against the winds of doubt and discouragement. Hope grows as you choose to focus on what God says about your future rather than on what your present circumstances suggest. It blossoms when you surround yourself with encouragement and refuse to give up. Sometimes hope requires waiting. Waiting can be difficult because it challenges our desire for immediate answers and quick fixes. But in that waiting, hope matures. It deepens your character and roots you more firmly in faith. Waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation. It is a sacred pause where God is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances and perfecting timing. Through waiting, hope transforms from a fragile seed into a strong, flourishing tree. Your hope is a promise that your story is far from over. It is a reminder that no matter how difficult today may be, there is a future filled with possibility, joy, and restoration. Hope invites you to keep going, to keep believing, and to keep trusting that God's best is yet to come. It is the assurance that your journey has meaning, your pain has purpose, and your life is part of a greater plan that will unfold in His perfect time. As we reflect on this journey, remember that no matter where you find yourself today, whether in doubt, pain, waiting, or uncertainty, God is not finished with you yet. Each breath you take, each step you make, is a sign that your story continues to unfold with purpose and grace. Your struggles are not setbacks but stepping stones. Your wilderness seasons are preparing your anointing, and your faith, even in the smallest measure, carries you forward when sight fails. Hold tightly to hope, for it is the seed that will bring forth new life in due season. Keep going, knowing that you are deeply loved, wonderfully made, and called to a destiny far greater than you can imagine. The journey isn't over, it's just beginning.